welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast, bringing you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. Before we begin, you can jump around the podcast by using the timestamps in the description below. If you're a regular and you're wondering why I flipped that around, it's because I'm Ben, and as always, I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor. But this week, we're also joined by DustyGogoat and SoulSilverArt. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hey guys, we're definitely thrilled to be here today. Me and Soul are 2/3 of Hidden Power, a Pokemon podcast. Our other co-host is not here. That is Zach from the Lumios post. Wish he could be here. We're gonna, send him some love.
So we are here this week to talk about leaks because we have had a very firm stance on the Goldenrod podcast that we will not be discussing leaks. However, I know that you two do a podcast where you discuss a lot of things about leaks, and it just seemed to be the right time because we have had some information dropped on accident, it seems, over at one of the Pokemon video game competition tournaments, where we have had a bit of information leaked about two brand new moves that I don't think they meant to release these. It seems like it was a complete accident in some kind of team building format where you can see the sprites, you can see the Pokemon, the moves, and things like that.
It's very exciting. Yes. I see, Conor. You guys really had us on as punching bags. That's why we're here today, right?
That's it, fully. We like I when Ben turned around to me and was like, I really don't like leaks. I was like, do you know what? There's two guys who we should get on here and we can tear into them and it's gonna be great. No, absolutely not. Let's do this first. Yes, we're gonna get into the news. We have, as Ben said, made it clear on this podcast, we're not the biggest fan of leaks. We don't share them here because we want our audience to feel safe. Now, obviously, you guys have a different audience, an audience who very much go out of their way to look for that. Dusty, you've got your own channel, which has very much blown up during this hype season. And Soul, your Twitter is like one of the go-to for leak speculation and analysis. Would you agree on that?
Right.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Definitely.
So clearly leaks work really well for you guys. Now,
I think I just want to get this out of the way. Like leaks are fun, right? In my mind, my stance is if it's a credible leak, because there's two types of leaks, right? There's leaks that people call leaks that are really just rumors, that are just like fun wish list ideas. I even perpetuate some of those. I'll think of something that's fun, post it on Twitter, and then everyone thinks it's a leak. It's not a leak. I'm not an insider. I say many times I'm not an insider.
I need
a fan. So that's, what is it?
I've got to jump in on that because, like, Twitter, I'm now in your algorithm. Whenever you tweet, I'm getting to it. And sometimes I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And
so you just get Scarlet and Violet confirmed, cat, sun, horse, diamond, lizard, bacteria. I'm like, what is this?
Do you guys want to know what that is? I mean, let me just finish my point, and then we can go back to that. Yeah. We can go back to quote unquote my leaks. So that the one type of leak that people I think hate are rumors and wish lists that people think are real, but they're obviously not, right? And there is a place for those, I think, right? I just think it's like a different way to format speculation. I'm all about speculation. I think it is the lifeblood of what is keeping Pokemon alive for 25, 30 years, right? Like it's the fun, it's the speculation. It's like what's gonna happen next, right? That's the first thing. Then there's real leaks where we have credible people in the community trickling out information over time. They build credibility, right? And everything else that these people have said has been accurate. So I look at those things, those are leaks, and you can disagree and you can say that, oh, well, they're not good. Maybe they have negative effects. But to me, if it's credible, I think it is just as valid as an official reveal. And that's kind of how I want to frame this conversation. But I don't know. What do you think, Soul?
I mean, I pretty much agree with you. We're on the same team here. So
okay,
that's
true. We're gonna
ditto.
Win.
We're gonna win.
There's no winning and losing. It's an open discussion.
There is no bad guy here. There is no bad guy.
No, not at all. Good, I don't want to make that clear. Like we don't disagree with your stance point. At least from where because I know Ben, when we were leading up to Scarlet and Violet, you avoided everything.
Oh, yes.
You didn't want spoilers at all.
No,
I love that.
Like how far? I want to know like how much. Did you not?
Well, to the point where he'd never heard of you because you were one of the first people he blocked.
Darn it!
Like honestly, I'm I'm absolutely amazed how little was spoilt for me, to be quite honest with you. I like my three main Pokemon channels that I get news from are Reddit, Twitter, and YouTube. And let's be honest with you, two of them are an absolute nightmare for leaking things, and you're not even looking for the leaks. So the fact that I managed to get to the launch of Gen 9 and basically had nothing spoiled was fantastic. Really enjoyed it.
I love that so much. I wish I had the willpower, because that kind of brings me, can I ask you, like, how have you done that kind of thing and kept yourself kind of in the dark for every Pokemon release?
So it's quite strange, actually, because I dropped off of Pokemon. So when I used to play it when I was young, the internet wasn't really a thing. So there wasn't a way to get spoilt on things. And then I took a break from Pokemon. So by the time I came back into Pokemon, I was coming into it just as the Gen 8 cycle was starting up, where it was starting to be promoted and information was being dropped, but I wasn't completely engrossed in the community, so I wasn't out there looking for it. So this is like the first generation that's been released where I could have been spoiled on things could have been leaked. And one of the reasons I avoid leaks is because huge fan of the Marvel films, and I went through a phase where I would love to deep dive, listen to the rumors, try and find leaks, and most of the time I just found myself disappointed because what I'd had built up in my head was better than what ended up being on screen. And it's one of the things that I was worried about with Pokemon, because we know Pokemon, unfortunately, usually what they could do is always better than what they do. And I didn't want to go down that route with the leaks of, oh, this is coming in Gen 9. Oh, they've got these new types of Pokemon, these new gimmicks, and then none of it was true. So I just decided to...
That's fair. That's very fair.
To move back.
I identify with that a lot, because I felt a very similar thing, I would say, maybe like 2000, pretty much with the sequel trilogy of the Star Wars. The Disney era of Star Wars. I felt the exact same thing, where I was listening to all the podcasts, all the YouTube videos, getting into the lore, or getting into the speculation, the leaks, and it really missed my expectations. And I felt then you have to go through these waves of like, do I like it? Do I not like it? I don't like this, whatever. I will say, I think a video game like Pokemon is a lot different than a single movie that's like, 2 hours of content, right? Like a movie can add a lot can like really shift existing lore. It can retcon things. It can like impact the future of the franchise totally. But I think with a game like Pokemon, it's kind of like a sandbox, right? So even if we don't get everything that we want, it inspires a whole generation of, artists and people to make new types of, let's say, paradox Pokemon. But then also, like, every single playthrough that you have, every time you turn on a Pokemon game, there's something new to experience. So I do think, I think there's a separation there. I think the disappointment is a different type of disappointment.
So if I can jump in on that one, you talk about the experience there of Pokemon. Now, that's to clarify where I come from. I followed all the leaks through Scarlet and Violet. I was a big follower of your Twitter, Soul. It was reading your analysis every single week was amazing. But
Facts.
I didn't want to share that because what I found was it was very hard to avoid. You'd go onto YouTube and it'd be the first recommended thing in your feed is something with a leaked image in the thumbnail. And it's like,
yeah, that's not good.
That's for some people who don't want to see it, that's not okay. If you've done it by choice, fair enough. But it almost seems like we have to work backwards. It's like, oh, well, you've got to see people who are leaking stuff and then mute them yourself and go through the rigmarole of doing that. So that's kind of the issue I have with it. Not necessarily that it happens. It's there for some people to enjoy it. And I love that. And I love the community that builds up around it and the speculation that comes with it. But it's very hard to avoid, I think. And to the point where we've all sat here and gone, I'm really surprised Ben made it all the way through.
Right.
Yeah.
So about that, like for me, I want to like keep like a good amount of my followers. I don't want people blocking me like like we've heard here today. So a lot of times I've tried my best to make a way for it to be as like what's the right word to say here? Just like not as obvious, that it's actually a leak or just not say all the details, or I will like tag it as a spoiler. And so everyone that doesn't want to see it doesn't have to see it if they have those things muted,
Yeah, that was a really lovely thing that I did see the community do very early on, is just go, right, we all agree, #SVLeaks.
Mm-hmm.
That's the muted term. Everybody agree? Okay, good.
Yeah. The only problem you run into is where does, like some people define these things as like, I don't want to see a single thing about the game. Like nothing. Some people don't even watch the trailers, so it's like, there's a line that I don't know exactly where it is. So some things I'll say and I'll be like, this isn't really a leak. This is like common knowledge for everyone, but sometimes that's not exactly true.
And what I find is people draw that line just below their own ethics.
Yeah.
So for me, right. Like we're gonna talk about like what we would refer as an official leak today. It came through an official source. RK9 Labs accidentally put this thing in. It's technically a leak for what could be upcoming in the game, but we think it's okay. If it's in a trailer, it's okay. So there are lines drawn, and those lines are completely arbitrary.
Exactly.
Which is why I don't think you can really get that up in arms about it.
The way I define a leak is if it's story related. Right, I guess you could say
fair enough.
story related or a new Pokemon. I could see, obviously, I think a new Pokemon reveal is something that a lot of people would want to experience for the first time in game, the way it's intended to be experienced. So I totally understand that. But for me, it's really just story. For me, the Pokemon, I want to know them. If there's an official image of a Pokemon and it's out there, why would I not want to know that?
I guess that's a really good point because what is the difference between the Pokemon Company releasing a trailer for
or not releasing a trailer? Which they've done plenty of that.
Yeah, opposed to somebody who manages to stumble upon it. Like what is the difference? And the difference is, I guess, presentation and the actual who has posted it. Because there could be some people. You're absolutely right that might be really frustrated that they want to go in blind to this game, and then they just happen to be subscribed to the Pokemon channel, and they've dropped a trailer, and in the thumbnail is a brand new Pokemon, and for them that it might be really frustrating. So I completely take Connor's point that like you can't really draw a line because it's different for everyone, and it is really difficult. I mean, I still have no idea how I managed to make it through without.
It really is impressive that you.
I honestly don't know, but like, it's even things like this is where I guess I'm coming around on the idea of leaks, to be quite honest with you, because
they're fun, man. They're a lot of fun. We'll get into that later, but yeah.
It's like when I was playing through the Pokemon through Gen 9, and I was jumping into Terra raids, and I was way behind everyone else. So I'm jumping into Terra raids with like a Paldean Wooper, and people are throwing out the legendaries. They're throwing out the evolutions of the starters, and like I'm there. And to be fair, my first thought seeing those Pokemon wasn't, oh, I'm really frustrated that I've seen them. It was, okay, how do I get that Pokemon? Where do I find it? And then going down that route of speculating of, okay, is that the evolution of one of the starters? And if so, how do I get it? And I found that quite fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that actually is a really good point, because it's like, even though you're not being leaked online, you're being leaked in some way. You could call that a leak in game, right? You're being spoiled. Maybe that's the better term. You're being spoiled.
I think you make a good. I think the point was made though. It's presentation. Now I will argue that because we saw Farigiraf early. It was one of the earliest ones ever revealed.
Shout out Kaka.
And I remember seeing the picture and being like, not sure about that one. But as soon as I saw it in game, moving, saw all the animations with it, suddenly it feels like a very different Pokemon. I'm experiencing it rather than just seeing it.
Of course.
It's the same as if you've ever like, I make the argument that there's some movies that I've watched and there's some movies that I've just seen. It's been on in the background and they're very different experiences. One of which I have engaged with it, and the other one is just like, it's very passive. And that's what I feel like I get with a lot of leaks is this case of, oh, well, I've seen it now. And it's dampened that first reaction that I'm going to have.
It's like an iceberg. I think like, because for me and Soul, I guess I don't want to speak for Soul, but for me, it's not that shallow. The presentation isn't always that shallow, because for us, you see that single image, right? And it might be a little janky, but then you go down, you read a Twitter thread, then you read another Twitter thread, then you hop on a Discord and have a whole conversation with your friends. And then, an incredible artist like Subarashi will like draw another depiction of what that Pokemon could look like, right? And that goes on for months at a time until it's actually officially revealed. So for like us,
yep.
I do agree that it's like you are limited to what it could actually be because you're only seeing a glimpse of it. But I guess, yeah, it can go deeper.
It's like stairs or something. It's like stepping stones. Like we spend all our time kind of like speculating and thinking about just that one particular little like terrible image. That's kind of how it is, you know. It's not just like, oh, this is it, that's it, it's over, it's done. It's like, oh no, we know that we didn't see it at its full potential. So we're like, okay, what else is there to this? What does it connect to? You know, like we just keep digging deeper into it, and we get ridiculous. Like, I don't know how many comments on Twitter I get daily about just like, this is dumb, this is ridiculous, you're just making up stuff. I'm like, yes, I am making up stuff. It's true. I'm like just speculating for fun. I'm having fun doing this.
Sorry.
How dare you?
How dare you have fun? How dare you enjoy this Pokemon?
And I think a lot of this, at least in this particular leak cycle, I don't really know what the cause was, but the trend that I saw was that, the Pokemon Company purposefully kept, in limited what they actually officially revealed. And I don't think there's necessarily a causation because the games are selling very well. But that, not having news for a month is agonizing. And what keeps
I agree.
And what keeps us alive, like, no offense to you guys, but like there are shows, if you like you guys like this amazing podcast, Goldenrod Podcast. there are shows that will only cover official news, and that's fine and that's great. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, but there's things that are like, we know are in the game. We don't know totally everything about them, but we know that this will be in the game. To me, I'm like, that's news. I would want to talk about that. Right? To me, I'm like, okay, so I'm compelled to dig deeper.
So where do you draw that line then? Where does your this is credible kick in?
Riddler Khu. It's the Ben Affleck leak, right? If something gets posted and there's a bunch of info, and it's just a wish list until one of them is right, and then you gotta go, okay, well, let's watch it. Oh, another thing got revealed. That's right as well. At this point, Riddler Khu he got BDS
proved himself since Sun and Moon, right?
Since Sun and Moon Soul? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an interesting question for sure. I think it takes a lot of verification. Like, I don't consider anything an actual leak. Like, everyone always says leaks, but it's rumors. It's just rumors for a long time. You have to like back it up. I go searching, I go digging for like, is this a credible leak, or is it just like somebody made this up? Or it's sometimes you don't find that and you just leave it as speculation. Khu has proven himself over the past year, especially, to have like near perfect information. There's other people out there. There's other leakers that, do other things that work with the company or for the company and whatever. They end up posting something like big dummies, but that's how
I will say the Riddler's a lot of fun. Like I followed a lot of his stuff, and it's interesting because, again, what he'll give you is snippets so that you can kind of maybe work out something true, which is great. I love it. And what was interesting during this cycle is you had Riddler Khu was doing basically all the work up until one point where another leaker showed up on the scene. And within about 3 days, we had half the decks.
Yeah, that was a good week.
Yeah.
That was it. So you consider that a good week? See,
no,
it was interesting.
That was a bad
No.
All right. Okay.
I remember we were recording episodes, and I was like at the beach on vacation, but we were still recording, and we were like, what the heck is happening? It was chaotic. It was exciting, but yeah, looking back, it was pretty. It made the rest of the season kind of dark and bleak because it was like,
it was miserable for me. Like I was gonna bring it up when you brought up the picture of Farigiraf. Like that whole situation is completely different to what like I enjoy. I enjoy the speculation. I enjoy, like trying to figure these things out. That's with Riddler Khu. It's amazing because it's like a game. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's like a game preparing you for the game. So it's awesome. But that type of leak is awful. That was just like, this is everything all at once. No anticipation. This is more about like what you were talking about earlier. Just, it's there. We've seen it. It's over. We have like 4 months to go.
And that's the kind of thing where it's like where the presentation does matter, right? Because if someone is giving us riddles and there's anticipation and there's excitement, you can still be let down. But and again, it's like this whole conversation really is about this one particular Riddler in general, right? Like obviously it hasn't been like this forever, but yeah, the presentation does matter, and I like the riddles.
It definitely does, and actually, like I think the thing that I'm realizing is there's a common thread in both of them, and it's almost the build up, and it's almost the excitement and knowing that the game is X amount of X months out, and whether or not you are into rumors, speculation, and leaks, or whether or not, like me, you just follow the actual the true source, I guess, if you want to use that word. But both camps would be equally frustrated if they're getting nothing, or they get everything, and then it's now I've got to wait 2 months because like most of the Pokedex has been spoilt, or they've released a trailer that shows absolutely everything and I don't have any questions left. It does make me wonder with the the speculation and things like that. Like how do you stop yourself from literally going down every nook and cranny to find every single bit of information? You must have some restraint not to do that, right?
No, 100%.
Once it's you have restraint. I have zero.
I have restraint. I have full. I am like It's funny because I've come into like my some information myself, and I am like the worst person to have information because I don't want everybody to know. I don't want to know everything myself. I want like a slow drip of information. And I was going to bring this up. It is that anticipation. I wish that the Pokemon company would do it that way. I know a lot of people hated the Sun and Moon promotional cycle, and I didn't hate it. It was a lot, just a little less, and I think it would have been perfect. Like they're just constantly dropping a little hints of things.
This is the best.
Maybe not full reveals.
That's what it felt like. Like
not full reveals.
Every week we'd get like new concept art, new Pokemon, new lore. We're like, what's going on? This is gonna be the best game of all time.
Yes.
And yet what's hilarious is one of the biggest standouts from Sun and Moon was the start of Final Evolutions leaking on, is it 4chan that went to?
Right.
Yeah.
So something like that, it's like, that's awesome. That's okay. That's 3 Pokemon. Like, I'm okay with 3 Pokemon leaking. That's awesome. And
it was official art too. Like, I feel like with that, going back to presentation, maybe that's the through line of the episode. Like, if you have concept art, you can see the full scope of what this Pokemon is capable of. It's still 2D. Right? It's not, but it's like, that's straight from the designers.
Yeah. And the thing is weirdly enough, Starter Evos is one of those I think a lot of people go looking for. Like even day one, you buy the game, I'm going to come home and look at the Starter Evos to figure out which one I want to pick.
Yeah.
But like, as I say, I followed all the leaks all the way through. And then like 3 days before, the whole Dex went online, and at that point I was like, all right, time to mute everything.
Yeah, that was...
because that's too much.
That's that's a whole nother topic, because that happens basically every time now with the data mines. The game drops online and that's it. Everyone sees everything. Like the first 2 weeks before pre-launch, 2 weeks before, you're like, okay, it's gonna all leak now.
It's gonna happen. Yeah,
that's just expected.
Maybe we can move on to that, but I just want to include one thing. Like, I think the Pokemon Company has actually been playing around with riddles of some sort, right? Like, I'm thinking of the Grafai reveal. They gave us, and there's a flaw here that I think, but they give what the Pokemon Company did is they gave us an image on Instagram and all those different social platforms showing these trees with the rings and the bullseyes. And then it was like a day later, then they revealed Grafai. The thing that I think they should have done was let that sit for like a week. Soul and I have talked about this. I loved hearing people's concepts who didn't already know what Graphi was, because Soul and I in the League community were able to, like, we already knew what Graphi was, or I guess we knew that there was going to be like a lemur that painted or something like that. But what I loved was that the people who weren't familiar with that information, when they saw the official, when they saw this official tease, people were thinking like, oh, is it a Smeargle regional form, right? I like for a split second, I thought, oh, bullseyes. Maybe this has to do with Tauros, right? That's a really shallow like initial thought, but like I liked seeing people speculate about things that could be real, even though we knew what it actually already was going to be.
Go on. See, no, go on, Conor. Go on.
Sorry. Thank you. It's funny that you bring that one up, because I really like the Graphi trailer, because again, in the first one, they show us just enough to get everybody interested, and then they reveal it all in the next one. Great. Unlike Iono's trailer.
Yes, we are agreed.
I despised, because it's like, we're going to play Guess the Pokemon, which you can't possibly guess because nobody's seen it yet.
Yeah, that was awful.
I think you actually make a really good point, Sol, about the poke. Now that you bring it up, yes, I think you're right that the Pokemon Company definitely are going down this route of, okay, how do we tease Pokemon that leads to discussion? Because obviously there's a benefit to them, because if more people are discussing it, searching for it, well, then it helps their company in terms of, you know, more hits on the website and whatever it might be. So I think you are absolutely spot on that they are doing more riddles. And the Iono one was a great example of where they've done it terribly, because what have you actually got to go on from that video? And don't get me wrong, you've got an annoying streamer that just makes you want to just quit YouTube, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
You've got an argument against voice acting in Pokemon.
Thinking about it. You actually have.
Pretty much.
So do we think, because obviously they've played around with this idea, and there are people like yourselves out there that do enjoy the riddles and figuring it out. Do we think then that this is a stance that the Pokemon Company is going to lean more into? And if so, what effect will that have on the spoiler/leaking community, I guess?
I mean, I'm okay with it going away. I'm actually okay with it. If it was like an equivalent to what we have with like leaks now, I would be okay with it. It's always gonna be there no matter what. But I definitely think that if they know about Riddler Khu, and I'm pretty sure they do, if they've been following him and see how many followers he has, like, they could be thinking about, hey, we can do the same thing. Why don't we just do the same thing? I don't know. I don't have too much faith in the marketing team at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry, agreed. Pokemon. I love you guys, but your marketing team, I don't know what to say.
That's fair. So, question for you then. Khu, inside job or not?
Yeah, that was.
I know. Dusty thinks so, I think, but I know, no way.
I don't know. I don't know. I go back and forth. I feel like there's two things. Either he's an inside job and it's just that's what it is, or he's not an inside job. And I think it's like I feel like if he was an inside job, the Pokemon Company would want him to be separate. Like, they would want to create like distance between him and the company and the branding of Pokemon. See, maybe I'm just like trying to draw connections, because he is. I think the Riddler is like super problematic, right? Like, says a ton of weird things, a lot of weird things.
Yeah, agreed.
It
was kind of hard to follow sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Like, we all know the puppy scenario thing. It's like, okay, this is weird.
By nature, though, it's like that. It's all a cover up. It's a cover up to keep him safe. You know, people don't get it, that it's just all to make him seem like he's some crazy person. So the Pokemon Company will be like, he's never gonna do anything or say anything like that.
Because the Pokemon Company have cracked down on people in the past. Like, they have completely shut down people's Twitter accounts. They've come after them legally. And yet there are some people who get away with it still. And again, I think that comes down to the fact that, you know, they're not posting photos. They're not giving direct hardline information. This is exactly what you're going to see. It is playing games with it a little bit. It is leaving up to Well, this is just a speculation, honestly.
Yeah.
Kind of, maybe not really.
Like a lot of the stuff that I post on Twitter, I started doing because there were people who like claim to be like an actual leaker. And I was like, that's hilarious. And then I was like, what if I just start tweeting things in the same format as Riddler Khu? And now I'm like, oh, okay, this is literally what Riddler Khu is doing. And Soul does the same thing. Soul will like take something from like a credible source and then be like, and then like twist it and be like, he'll put a riddle on a riddle.
Okay.
And I feel like we try to play into it a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. I don't even have a point. Just it's
fun.
It's fun.
So it's now getting to that point where if you're not part of the community, it's like memes. You kind of need to know where it starts to know what you're reading.
Look at that.
Almost,
I
yeah.
Like that's
a good point.
I really do like that analogy there. And so I do have to think about the Pokemon company. This all benefits them ultimately. Like people discussing the not so much leaks, but the speculation and almost the speculation of the speculation, because they are flat out not leaking. And like for me thinking about it, if I don't follow Riddler Khu. However, if I could follow this person and think, okay, I'm safe from leaks because technically he's not leaking or spoiling anything. It is more just basically what happened with the Pokemon reveal of who was it? Graphii? Graphii. Like,
Graphii.
I really enjoyed that and trying to figure it out. And it was the first time where actually, after a little bit of Google searching, I was like, I'm pretty confident I kind of know what this Pokemon might look like. And then, Conor, you released a video, didn't you, not long after that to break it down even further. But in my mind, I'm suddenly thinking, well, what's the difference between that and the hard line that I placed on myself at the very start of I'm not going to go into spoilers or leaks, when actually it sounds like Gogoat, Dusty and Soul, you're pretty much just doing the same thing as the Pokemon company, but not on an official Pokemon channel. Like what? So the question, I'm thinking out loud here. The question I'm asking myself is like, what is wrong with that? What's the problem?
What's the
exactly.
problem?
And now I'm suddenly thinking, well, actually, no, there's not really a problem. Like, don't get me wrong. If somebody like flat out on YouTube posted a screen grab of, okay, this is the the full revealed Pokedex, yes, I would have a problem with that. But if someone is just putting out cryptic tweets here and there, like, that's part of the fun, right?
Bingo.
Yes,
I mean, I think especially with like Riddler, one of the most blatant ones we got was the day of the Lechonk reveal. He literally posted a picture of a pig with eyeliner.
Yeah, well,
which is one of those which means nothing until you see what it means, and then you go, right.
Yeah.
So
The day of I think it was the day of the Legends Arceus reveal. He like literally like an hour or two before the first trailer where we were gonna see like the starters. He posted like I think he just posted emojis depicting what the final starters were going to be, and then he did the same thing for the Scarlet and Violet reveal trailer, where it was like I think it was like crocodile, flame, water, bird, and then it was like cat ?
Okay.
Which something like that. It was literally like 2 hours before we actually found that out officially.
Okay, I'm going.
It's because he knows how to pace himself, unlike other leakers that we've seen. It's like that was the day of them revealing it. He's not going to post it like months before, just be like, oh yeah, this is exactly what you're getting like 3 months from now. I hated the whole thing of like having to wait that long and knowing everything. So I'll play into what you were talking about with that there being nothing wrong with that Graphii reveal thing. What happened in that specific scenario was there was something wrong with that. Everybody already knew about the eye spray painting Pokemon that was coming. And that was because of this other leaker that just jumped on the scene and dropped everything. We knew so much. Nobody knew about that little lemur for months before that. And then like probably a week before it came out, it was leaked along with a bajillion other Pokemon. And that was disappointing to me because like Dusty said, like we saw all of the speculation on it for the people that didn't know about it. But the majority of the leak community already knew about it. That leak did not come from Khu. That whole thing, we didn't know anything about the II. So that was an issue.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, like, how many Pokemon fans, like whatever that, however big that is, right? How many of those people are actually like aware of leaks or keep up with leaks? Because we literally might be like 0.2% of the population or something.
Those of us who even follow the hype season are part of the minority.
Yeah.
In all reality. So one thing I was going to ask is, there were two things that, the leak community knew months before it was ever revealed in official trailers or in game. One was the Paradox Pokemon, and the other one was the so-called regional fakes.
Yes. That was exciting.
So this is the thing, right? And it comes down to that kind of, would Pokemon have benefited from revealing that earlier? Did you guys enjoy having that early access to it, considering that you've already said that having information early and then having nothing to do with it for months can be a bit grating? How did that feel for you?
Every reveal, I'll let Soul talk, but every reveal trailer, I was like, okay, they're going to release Paradox. They must release Paradox because this is one of the coolest things that could ever be in the game.
Right.
I mean, technically they did.
They did. They gave us two.
Yeah, like a week before the
right
game.
at the very end.
Yeah. So which made sense. It's like their
how
hype
long
thing.
did you know? Because the first
most of everything was like in June or July.
So you knew
I can give you a brief.
You knew about the Paradox Pokemon that early.
I can give you like a brief timeline basically of it. The
that would be
R
perfect.
fakes or the convergent ones, that was originally leaked by Khu, and that was way more fun, more speculative. We had no idea like what in the world they were. We were actually thinking like robotic Pokemon because they were fake.
Oh yeah.
Already we were thinking about that,
and
which
then there was
is funny
the whole
because
question about the terrestrial Pokemon. Like we were like,
yeah.
Are they going to get a third type? Is there going to be a set type that they become? Are they going to change forms? Is it going to be like megas? Like that went wild.
We
So
also
had the Quaquaval crystallized picture, didn't we?
Yeah. So that was all before that still. Like it was very early. It must have been May that he originally leaked it. And it was just a riddle. It wasn't like, it's an R fake. We don't even know what that is. So then in July, when everything leaked from the new leaker, that was a completely different story. And I really wish that he hadn't leaked the Paradox Pokemon. Because I know that Khu had like a whole plan. He had like a planned out thing that he posted, which was like in October or something, he was going to riddle the Paradox Pokemon, not like reveal every single one. And he had no plan to like reveal every single Pokemon either. He was like, there's too many. It's going to be fun for you to find out for yourself.
That's cool.
He's just like a real Pokemon fan. The other guy just dropped everything because he just didn't care. It's
more about clout than anything else.
I don't know about clout. I have no idea. That person was an enigma, to be honest. Like I have no idea. They didn't get followers. They didn't get anything out of it. They just
so that's where I think, okay, and again, I'm not trying to be Mr. Conspiracy Theory, but like I don't know. I'm like, if Khu is not an inside job, Kakak definitely could be. That guy like literally he got nothing from it.
Yeah,
right?
but there was nothing good to what he did, like for the Pokemon company especially.
Sure, but this is assuming that he was part of the Pokemon company. Maybe that's what the Pokemon.
The question for me then is did he get nothing from it, followers, subscribers, whatever it might be, because he was unproven, and therefore
he got a court date?
Really?
No, I don't know, but I bet he's who knows?
He disappeared as soon as he arrived.
Okay.
Yep.
That is interesting then.
Who knows what happened?
To me,
I hope he never comes back.
If someone appears, drops stuff, and then vanishes, that almost screams, okay, that was somebody who wasn't meant to have that information, and therefore the company is trying to protect their assets, that whatever the term is.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. It took him a little while to disappear, but it did eventually happen. He
disappeared about 3 times, didn't he?
Yeah, more than that. He just kept. He had a really good strategy. I hope nobody follows it, but it's a good one if you wanted to do it. Oh man.
Yeah. So something else we were talking about earlier was like the responsibility for like content creators, I guess you could say, on whether or not they like what should their role be with leaks, right? I think there's definitely people who just like put out outright leaks, like images or whatever. And I definitely, so I'll just speak for myself. I think I try to walk that line. I never put official art or official leaks in thumbnails because I feel like a thumbnail, at least on YouTube, the thumbnail is like a barrier to entry. It's like, this is something cool, and the title is what you'll be watching. If you click it, you'll see the leaks. If you don't click it, here are just some cool images that are fake, right? And that's what that's like the only role I feel like I can play, right?
Yeah, but like the fact that you take that much care,
it's not.
I think does put you. I mean, it's not a lot, as you're about to say, but the fact that you take that much care puts you above a lot of others.
Yeah, I think a lot. I mean, just even looking back like 2 years ago, when I seriously started uploading videos, you're desperate. Like you're like an addict. You're just like, I'm desperate for views. How can I get views? And I still have never. I don't think I've ever like put. That's not true. I have put leaks before. I think it was like around Legends of Arceus. They were like really early leaks that didn't really like give that much info, and those videos didn't even do well. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's some desperation when you're first starting up.
There's still desperation 4 years in, to be quite honest with you. We can want those views.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Like, the thing.
I just try to be respectful for the people, because like on Twitter, on Instagram, all these other platforms, there's no barrier, right? So it's like whatever you post could just show up in someone's feed. Even on TikTok, I was doing leak videos on TikTok, and then I realized, yeah, they're doing really, really well, right? I'm getting like hundreds of thousands of views, but like people are seeing this that probably don't even want to see this because they don't make a conscious decision to click and engage with the content.
And that's one of the key things for me is not just Pokemon, but other things. Marvel and Star Wars are the big ones in my past, where you know you don't get a choice the first time because the algorithm will just swept it up, and either the thumbnail or the title is a spoiler in itself. Like literally, you just have to glance at it for a second, and it's spoiled. And for me, I think you went down the right route of not doing it that way, because me, and I know there'll be other people like me, where that is the quickest way to get somebody to block you, or just get YouTube not to recommend you.
And people have left comments, which is always shocking. They're always nice about it, but they're always like, "Hey, I've subscribed to you again because I blocked you during leak season." And I'm always like, I get that, but I'm also like, that's disappointing.
That's a shame.
But thank you for coming back. Please, everyone who blocked me, come back, please.
Yeah, let's get it. Yeah. Maybe what I wanted to say earlier was I feel like there's a vocal minority, right? Like when we were talking about like what is a leak, how do we define that? I think there is things that are leaks, but I think there's a vocal minority of people who are conflating like blatant spoilers with anyone who just speculates, right? Or if there's even coverage. And I feel like the thing that I've been experiencing is like there's a divide. People get like nasty. It's turned into like a political debate, or like if you're against leaks, then you're like a good person, right? Right? Like there's we see that in politics, right? Like it's like all of a sudden, you have to have one thing to be like
you're one side or the other.
Yeah, which is silly, right?
It's not true about life in general. There's so much.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's never that black and white, and it's kind of why I really wanted to have this discussion, because like we very much stood on one side all throughout hype season, but we have no issue kind of thing. And
no, we know.
Obviously,
no,
you
I was
guys
just
are.
Teasing. Yeah.
No, absolutely. But what I mean is like you guys are Pokemon fans the same way we are.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, Pokemon is a game that is as successful as it is today because of rumors.
No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You go back to Mew. The fact that was in the game and someone found it and then spread it around the internet and all the rumors went around. That's why Pokemon's as popular as it is.
Yeah.
So the idea that, rumors are ruining the game now, it's kind of silly.
I still remember trying to evolve my Dragonite into Yoshi.
Into Yoshi.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It never happens.
You just brought up the best point, though. That is so true. It's so crazy. I remember, so this is going to age me a little bit, but I remember when Gen 2 was coming out, I was just like so hungry for the new Pokemon. Like, oh, there's new Pokemon, there's new ones coming. And like, you know, I was a kid obviously, but it felt like when you first saw Snubbull or Donphan, like from the movie 2000,
from the start of the first movie and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was like crazy to me. It was like
and let's not forget the infamous Peekaboo.
Yes, exactly. Those were leaks and rumors. That's what that was. And it came from the Space World demo, which people played back then, and there was a Meryl, and they were like, it's Pikachu, but it's blue. And that was literally where it came from.
Even using just like Cerebi's website, like, to me, I don't even know how old I was, maybe like middle school, but like having like really, really bad internet connection. I remember like being at my neighbor's house because he had the computer. He was playing RuneScape, and I'm like, hey, just like take a break. Let's go to this website, Cerebi.com, whatever. And I was like, there's new Pokemon for Gen 4. I was like, look at these. This game's in Japan right now. Like, to me, that felt like a leak, even though it was official, right?
Yeah, that's like you used to have the Koro magazines, which had leaks, quote unquote.
So this wasn't even a leak. This was literally like the Dex sprites ripped from the Japanese cartridges of Diamond and Pearl, but they were listed on Cerebi's website. And to me, that felt like we didn't know what the names were in English.
Yeah, because back then it was the Japanese ones would come out before, so you would that's one of the things that even happened back in Gen 2. Like those were all already released almost in Japan, and in here in America we were like, we don't know anything about a new generation coming or anything. So it was like that.
See, it's funny. Like I use Cerebi.net or Joe basically as my. Is it .net? I think
it is.
Yeah, I use Joe as like my baseline of if he's talking about it, it's safe, it's fair game.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's good.
And one of the things I want to bring us on to is data mining. We kind of mentioned it earlier. Now, back in day, it was a case of, game got data mined a week, 2 weeks before it came out, and you knew all the Pokedex plus the mythicals that weren't even released for another 4 or 5 months. Now they've kind of made steps of taking a bunch of those mythicals out and only adding them in once they're actually released. So that kind of isn't so much of an issue anymore. But again, data mining led us to, I think I was listening to your podcast that went up today as of day of recording, and you were talking about like the code names for Area Zero being Atlantis and stuff like that. Yeah. And whether does that count as a spoiler or doesn't it? Because it's information that is available to anybody with knowledge to access it.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's what I was talking about with that line that you have to like draw for yourself, because some people will count that as a spoiler. It is technically, I mean, I don't know, the game's out, so it's very hard to say. To me, it's not a spoiler. You can look it up. The game is out. Everything is out there. So,
but it might be a story. It might spoil some of the story. It might, but we don't actually know that.
It might.
Sure.
Yeah, it could spoil the DLC a little bit. So,
you said could, right? So I would think, like, I don't think it's a spoiler because it's like, okay, well, we don't know if that actually does spoil it, right? It's not like someone came out and said, like, this is exactly what what we talked about on Hidden Power was like, there's a lot of ways you could interpret the story of Atlantis, and then there's a lot of ways you could interpret any of those stories into a Pokemon game and compare it with Area Zero. So I don't think it's a spoiler at all. It's just like an interesting.
I think
point.
there's a difference with data mining as well, because data mining for me. So the initial point where you can data mine before it's put on YouTube or Twitter or whatever, like you have to physically learn a skill to go into a game to find the information. At that point, I kind of feel like you're doing everything you can to find out as much as you can about this game, and there is a risk then that you probably are going to be spoilt on something. But that's part of the fun of it, of data mining, is because you probably enjoy either getting the information first or having all the information as soon as possible. So you can it's like a jigsaw. You can kind of fit it all together and figure out, okay, from the data mine, I now know. I think I know where the story's going to go and how these legendary Pokemon are going to tie in with the story. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that, like, I'm not against data mining whatsoever. Like, if people want to data mine to your heart's content, because I play Pokemon Masters, and you know what? People that data mine absolute legends because I now know a month ahead of time whether or not it's worthwhile me logging into the game. So thank you. But I think
so that's the same thing with Pokemon Go.
Yes,
right? People do that in Pokemon Go to find out like
they
new
do.
Pokemon
They do.
reveals.
But it's
Although you got really annoyed,
Go on.
actually. We have to bring this up because we said it on the podcast. You got really annoyed that people data mine Pokemon Go because you found out about Gimme Ghoul early.
Oh,
yes.
interesting.
Yes, because
Well, they don't tip. Yeah,
That was
I guess in
official.
your
That
defense-
was like an official reveal, though. Like technically,
It was, but it because again the data mine came out early
yeah.
before Gimme Ghoul actually started
Yeah.
tipping up in game.
I think
True.
Pokemon Go doesn't typically like it's like once every 3 years that they reveal like an actual new Pokemon. It was like what
Yeah.
Meltan
and that's it.
and Melmetal and then Gimme Ghoul. So I could see you being frustrated because you're like, well, I didn't expect a spoiler from this source.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people were at on
but
that
isn't
one.
isn't that one of the key things? Like it's knowing the source and being frustrated. Like if I wanted to go out and get speculation, leaks, rumors, whatever it is, I can scout out those people. I could follow yourselves on Twitter. I could learn how to data mine. Like it's when you get spoilt on something or something gets revealed that you thought you were in, a safe space almost of, well, I don't follow those people on Twitter or I don't follow those people on YouTube, and yet the algorithm has for whatever reason decided to throw something at me. And I think that's maybe where some people's frustration comes from is I didn't go out to find this information, so why have I had something spoiled when I didn't have a choice in it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It
That is
is, and I think
unfortunate.
that's the crux is like I think it's I think it's quite easy actually to draw a line and go, okay, this is where my line is on leaks, spoilers, rumors, whatever it might be. But it's the fact that the ever evolving technological world means that sometimes things might get pushed the other side of the line that you've put there, and unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. But I think one thing that I've learned from this conversation, which has been fantastic, is that like I've reevaluated where my line is. To be quite honest with you,
I'm glad that we
it's
could help with
definitely-
that.
See, very much the same. Like I'm now sat here going, well, I watched all this kind of as an outsider and walked away with my own thoughts of it and kind of grumbled every now and then. Whereas if I'd actually got involved in the community, I could have been part of the speculation, could have been part of that discussion and actually enjoyed the leaks rather than just had them thrown at me.
So when you guys said data mine, the first thing I thought of was like an actual horrible sinking feeling that I felt when I was in college. I was on campus. I had I pulled up my phone. I looked up on 4chan. That day, the entire Gen 7 Dex leaked, and it's all just like the data mined sprites, right? Not what are they called? Models, right? And I was like, wow, this is it. This is where it ends. This is where the train ends. And in that point in my life, I was so passive when it came to, or I was like, I guess like solitary when I was experiencing Pokemon. I had like a couple friends in real life. And then I would watch people online. I would like look up stuff for myself. But once that ended, the journey in my mind ended. Now I've actually just immersed myself in the community and I've made friends. And now it's like when everything got leaked, I was like, great, now we can go to the next step. Right. I don't know. I think, I guess I'm just thinking, I'm reflecting on how nice it is to be in the community, but also be able to like have outlets to talk to other people like you guys. Right. I don't know. I think Pokemon's a really special thing.
I was just gonna say that I respect both sides. Like I can see somebody that doesn't want. Actually, I don't understand it at all. I even made some tweets about it. Just like I made some tweets about it, and I was just like, if you're not part of the Pokemon leaking community right now, you must be bored out of your mind, just sitting there doing nothing.
During those 3 months of quiet, it was rough.
I couldn't understand it, but I respect the people if they want to do that. If that's what you really want to do, okay, fine, that's cool. But I don't get you. I don't get, because there is such a huge community for it. It is like a leaking community, even though it's not totally all leaks, it's rumors and all that. But it's like we're speculating, we're talking about it, we're like still thinking about Pokemon when there's no Pokemon to be thought about, basically.
Yeah.
You know, like it is that. It's a big part of it, and it's a lot of fun and a lot of like good connections and friendships made through it.
I think like to kind of wrap it up is the key word that I keep hearing throughout this entire discussion is speculation. And like me and Conor made the very clear, choice that we didn't want to cover leaks on this podcast. However, we have speculated in pretty much every single episode that we've done, and sometimes the whole main point of the main topic has just been speculation, and sometimes it's been speculation on the tiniest amount of information that we've had revealed from an official source. And I'm just thinking about like how much more we could have spoken about if we were, if we had our, toe in that side of the leaking community and going, okay, right, well, we haven't got an official leak or we haven't got an actual leak. However, we've kind of got a little bit of a nugget of information that we can speculate and talk about, because that's one of the things that we kind of love to do, is we just love to talk. Hence why the podcast goes on for like 2 hours every week. But
that's why I subscribe to you guys, because you do speculate about the small things.
Even if it makes us sad in the long run.
You're absolutely right. But I think it's definitely a conversation to have of, okay, like where like speculation and what we talk about on the podcast is like, do we relook at the line that we have? I don't know. It's not something to decide right now. But it's definitely a conversation that I'd be interested to have, to be honest with you.
There you go. You've won over somebody here today.
Man.
So take that
as this.
There's a whole iceberg.
Right. Should we move on to the actual news?
Yeah.
Which is the RK9 Labs, the VGC tournament holder. Go on the website and fill out your Pokemon for the tournament. We got 2 new moves. One of them was Hydro Steam, and the other one was Psyblade. What do we think these are for?
So before we do that, how into leaks are we allowed to talk on this?
Okay.
All right. I'll tell you
really
what,
important.
This is your absolute final spoiler warning right now. There you go. You got free reign.
Let's go.
Okay. So, I mean, we all know, well, maybe we don't all know, but there is the Scarlet and Violet book in the game, and they have an imaginary a drawing of like a legendary beast fusion paradox and legendary Swords of Justice fusion paradox. So those 2 things, when we look at these names, we are thinking that they are connected to those 2 imaginary Pokemon. We're thinking they're their moves, like signature moves. I mean that's the biggest gist of it that I could give. We don't know the types.
That's kind of the conclusion I'd come to just looking at the names and being like, well, that makes sense. Hydro Steam. Okay, it still spins me out that we've now got Hydro Steam and Steam Eruption.
They kind of feel like they're the same thing, don't they? Like to me at least.
They're very generic names.
The fact that they're not means that it must have some kind of different effect, different ability. Because what does Steam Eruption do? It's basically like Strong Scald, isn't it?
My head. So maybe this is more. I don't know. Like if I had to speculate, maybe this is something similar to Freeze Dry, where it's one particular typing, but the benefit of it is that it inflicts super effective damage on a typing that it typically shouldn't be able to. That's where I'm kind of where my head's going with Hydro Steam. As for Psyblade as well, I must admit, Hydro Steam, I think that's a pretty cool name. Psyblade, just when that was released, my first thought was, how have we got 9 generations and they haven't come up with the move Psyblade already?
For real?
Yeah. Well, there's Psy
Strike.
Psy Strike. Psychick.
Hey.
Psychick's not actually a kicking move. I didn't know that would be a joke.
No, but that's so true about the names, though. They're like, when I saw the names, I was like, aren't these already moves? I thought they were already
Yeah.
moves.
I can completely agree with that. It is. So, it is.
My biggest question is, like, why is it psychic type? right? Why are we talking about psychic? So like Virizion, so the Swords of Justice Paradox Beast is based on Virizion, Terrakion, and Cobalion. They all share a fighting type. Then there's also Steel, Rock, and Grass. And then you have Keldeo, that's fighting water. Where's the psychic?
Well, it was pointed out that there's those occult magazines that you find.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's for Iron Valiant says like the creator of it was trying to make the most psychic Pokemon ever and ended up with a fairy fighting type.
Yeah.
So he failed there. Did he then go on to try and combine the Swords of Justice into a psychic type Pokemon?
Wait, yes. So that is correct. But now I'm thinking, which type is it that is associated with magic? Fairy or psychic? Because if it's psychic type, then that would make sense. Because then there's this whole other theory that the third legendary is possibly creating these paradox out of imagination, right? It's like an interpretation or creating, right? The past paradox Pokemon are just these like primal versions of existing Pokemon, where the future ones have this like innate magical technology. So then I could see fighting being the through line of these three beasts, but the psychic type being granted upon this because it's a psychic beast. Magical beast, rather.
Yeah. Because we've had it before where like Pokemon they're fighting type, but they become very zen. They sort of hone their skills hard enough that they develop big brain and become psychic type.
Mega Mewtwo X, right? You got that as an example.
So I'm not sure. And the thing is, if they're going to be presumably the signature moves of these combination legendaries, do they still play into the whole I forget what their abilities are called for the Paradox Pokemon, the one where it's like powers up in the sun or powers up in electric terrain?
Yeah,
right.
I forget what
they're
called.
Is it going to play into that?
It could. I think we've speculated that maybe, or Lumia speculated that maybe there's like I guess it was like maybe the attack. I don't even know. They could have like brand new abilities that are specific to this, right? Because like I look at Raikou, I look at the Suicune paradox, the Beast paradox. So that'd be water and fire type, but then maybe the ability gives a boost to like electric type moves or something.
I mean, what I could see with Hydro Steam is it actually being a Pokemon that's part steel, and it's got that kind of steampunk kind of cogs moving and steam spouting out of it and whatnot, which would fit more in line with a futuristic style Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely.
That would be the biggest twist if we actually had them the wrong way round.
That would be
it could be possible.
We've also talked about how like these Pokemon might also have, Soul mentioned it in our last recording, that they might also have like really drastic form changes. And this might be the only depiction that we have, because of all the emphasis of it being like recorded on paper, but it might not be the full form.
Okay. Because the thing is, what we have at the moment isn't even like an accurate depiction. It's somebody's imagination of what a Paradox Pokemon could look like if there was another one.
Yeah. And then sorry.
And so many questions come up because they draw a Suicune Entei Raikou fusion before those Pokemon are even born.
Yeah, that's a good
question
point,
mark.
actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've thought about that.
Oh,
it's a paradox. Yeah. Going back to like the summer, we were thinking the paradox could be like, if they're like purely time traveling, then it could be something where it's like something's brought from another, I guess would it be dimension or a different timeline that shouldn't exist, but now currently exists because it's brought into our universe. Like it doesn't make sense with the region, so it's not a regional form. It's not organic or natural in any way, at least not in our current, timeline. So, or it's the whole imagination thing. Are you guys familiar with the Entei movie?
Yes, with the unknown who create an Entei out of nothing.
Yeah, unknown. Yeah. Shout out Hidden Power Podcast. I think there is a book in there where there's all of these legendary creatures depicted, and they're all like imaginary, right? And they're nothing that we've even seen before. And I love the idea because what we've seen over time is that ideas that have been brought up in Gens 1 and 2 have been then brought into the main series game in like an official way, almost like retconning those old like anime, cameos or whatever. And I love the idea of that Entei movie and those mythical, imaginary legendaries being brought into the games through these paradox Pokemon, where they're really just interpretations of things that could exist brought to life.
See, I've heard this imagination theory over and over and over again. It's one of those I keep getting bombarded in all of my comment sections. It's like, you haven't taken this into account. It's like, yes, you're right. This theory that I've said is nothing to do with that theory that you've mentioned. It's funny that. I'm under the impression that the Pokemon are paradoxes because they only exist because Sada and Turo created the time machine.
Yeah.
Turo goes to the future and because he's an AI in a robotic body, he helps to create the singularity, which develops all the Pokemon into AI robotic bodies. Sada goes back in time, and her presence of being there influences the evolution of Pokemon. That's why they're paradoxes, because they exist because somebody wanted to see them, so goes back in time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
I like that a lot.
That's the paradox.
And if you look at the context clues, what does the game actually give us? They say time travel, right?
Yeah.
But then they also do say, like in the book, they also do say like imagination and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Again, Soul, this might be one of your points, but I think like they don't really put the Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. They don't typically have these like game breaking or at least like mind bending twists, right?
Yeah.
They're pretty
agreed.
They're pretty clear cut.
That's the conclusion we came to before, was a case of like, you know, Game Freak aren't the kind of people to go, oh, it's this. Oh, no, wait, it wasn't.
Yep.
Because their fan base is young. And the other thing is as well, if it's all imagination and the third legendary is bringing all these Pokemon to life, where did Sada and Turo go?
It's a very valid point of...
They have died.
It's like, for me, the imagination through line, to me, is almost... Because at the time when they first went down into Area Zero, they didn't have the concept of time travel. So it was like, oh, okay, well, what is it? Oh, it's people's imagination. That the things that like you just couldn't conceive because they were so, you know, dangerous or futuristic and didn't like it. They appear like magic rather than technology because you wouldn't understand it. And I think you are absolutely right that like I can't see Game Freak. They've published this game and it's got this through line of it's time travel, and then how do they then bring people back to go, well, actually it wasn't time travel, it's actually imagination. And I think you're just going to lose a lot of people, and some people might not even like follow that through because the imagination in the third legendary likely to be DLC, and therefore people might not even buy the DLC. Not that Pokemon games like have an impact on one another generation in terms of story. I just can't see them doing it. So to bring it back to like these Hydro Steam and the Cyberblade and what these Pokemon potentially are, and the fact we've got two does really, for me, bring it back to the paradox Pokemon. One is the future, one is the past, and they have come through the machine somehow.
I think you made the best argument against it right now. Like I haven't heard anybody make a proper argument, and that was good. I think that really solidifies an idea of, yes, these are like time travel Pokemon, future, past, whatever. Because I've only heard imagination argument, like, so that was really good.
I like the theory. Yes. I do like the theory.
Yeah,
I think
the theory's
it holds
great.
a lot of water. But I think my biggest sticking point on it still is they make the point of, oh, I could only ever bring through 2 Koraidon, or I could only ever bring through 2 Miraidon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hang on. If this is bringing your imagination to life and creating the paradise for, even though it's technically the third legendary's paradise, not Sada and Turo's, they just think it's theirs because mind control and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
They'd have brought more through, right? So. Surely.
Makes sense.
I'm not being funny, but like if it was about imagination, like the Pokemon don't feel very imaginative, especially the past versions, like the past versions, really?
No, I like the past versions. It's the future versions that lack imagination.
Is it Fluttershy? Fluttermane, it's just a little bit extra. The Jigglypuff variety where, okay, it's just a bit more of a quiff and it looks like it really is quite evil. But I do take your point about some of the futuristic ones, actually, where the designs are very safe. They haven't gone far enough almost, because you'd like to think after, what is it, billions of years, the past Pokemon? Does it mention it's about 1 billion years or something like that, right?
There is stated that I think one of them's 1 billion years in the past and one of them's 1 billion years in the future. I know the 1 billion years in the past is Screamtail. I can't remember which one's said to come from the future in 1 billion years. It might be the Tyranitar, Iron Thorns.
So for me, they almost seem like that they haven't evolved enough in 1 billion years. So maybe actually it is like imagination to bring it back around.
But the other thing you got to look at is that these were imagined 200 years ago. So somebody was like, I know digital eyes, pixelated eyes, even though I assume there was nothing around then that had pixels in it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
You know, it's the same as you go back 30 years and everybody's like, flying cars. And now our future is AI robots. It's you only have concept of what you understand to extrapolate upon. So you can't, I can't see Heath coming up with Iron Thorns. I just don't, doesn't make sense in my head. However, we'll find out.
It's Game Freak though. I don't think they went that deep when they thought about it.
Yeah,
I wish they did.
I wish they did too. We all wish they did.
We're all on the same. I think regardless of which line you are on, with spoilers, leaks, rumors, and all that, is Pokemon. Please just come on.
We wish Game Freak cared as much as we do.
And the leakers.
Definitely. Right. We've been chatting. Go on.
The other news, can't miss it, is possible Pokemon coming in DLC.
Yeah,
on the same thing as the last one, the VGC, we got shown some sprites, accidentally or otherwise, of Pokemon that are guaranteed not in the game, and we know they're new sprites because, well, Dracovish 100% is a new sprite for Dracovish.
And until we get more information from this, I understand this as they may have, like, when developing those sprites, like they may have just hired those artists or those artists to like just make all 1,000.
So it's someone,
right?
It seems like a waste of resources.
Yeah, but they've done that in the past. So like what I'm thinking of is the following animations in Gen 7. They made following animations for every single Pokemon and then never used it.
So
they didn't use them in Gen 7. They used them in Gen 8, but I think they were like different. They may have used them in Gen.
They're in the DLC of Gen 8. That's what it was.
Yeah, and then Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I'm sorry.
For me, in my background in marketing, sometimes you do this to future-proof yourself. I've done it before on projects where it's like, okay, we want a bunch of icons for an app, but actually we might not even use them all. But it's better to do that rather than just go, okay, we only need 10. They designed the 10, and then you actually go, oh, actually, we need another 3 or 4. And then you then have to go back, and typically they put up the price because they think, oh, okay, you've got to come back to us so you can get icons that kind of fit the style that we did. So it's probably more future-proofing. I think, I don't...
Definitely. Also, like all the resources and time spent organizing the artist or whoever it is, the programmers.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like just get it over with.
Yeah, I think this is going to be very similar to Sword and Shield, where over time they add more Pokemon in, but not all of them. And this just means that actually they can, if they've already got all 1,008 pieces of art, they're not then limited by, oh, we haven't got the art for that, so we can't put those Pokemon. So they've probably just got free reign. And I'd imagine
that's fair. They can chop and change as it goes.
All these icons are very similar to the BDSP ones that we had, which makes me think it is future-proofing, because if we do get another, a Switch game at some point, they can then go, well, we've got the icons, so we can do whatever we want with them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. What do you guys think about like the national decks returning? Because I think it's easy to jump to that, be like, oh, why are all of them created, right? I'm not saying I even believe it's going to come back, but what do you guys think about the national decks in general?
I think that's dead. I think that's been dead for a while. And I think the community has finally started coming around to accepting that. To go back on it now would would be shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Because people then expect it for every game going forward. It's like, oh, they fixed it. Right. The National X is back. Let's go.
We're back.
It's like, no,
same
guys,
scenario.
that's not happening.
I could see them like maybe bringing it back for like just Gen 10 because it's such a big it's a selling point. It's also a celebration. And it's a milestone. I could see them being like, all right, let's bring them all back for Gen 10, but maybe not a Gen 11, maybe not Gen 12. But I do hear I think your point would probably be the biggest problem with that, just getting people's hopes up again and having to disappoint people.
The thing I like is the idea that Gen 10 is going to be this big celebration. I think I heard you guys mention it as well, that Gen 10's not coming out until the 30th anniversary, right?
Yeah.
It's a nice pet theory.
It makes sense, though, doesn't it? From a marketing perspective,
yeah, what are you going to do, like Gen 10 DLC for... I guess what they could do is release... Because like they release a new game at the end of the year, so they could release Gen 10 at the end of, 2025? Is that right?
Yeah.
And then...
20...
Is that right?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? And then I think it... Yeah. And then, 2 months later, then it's the 30th anniversary. And then you can spend the whole 30th anniversary celebrating the game that came out even just like a month ago. And then also with the DLC. So they could do something like that. That's actually probably like, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, it makes sense because like the 30-year anniversary is something that you probably, obviously you want your main headline of, okay, this is the main way we are celebrating. But let's be honest with you, they are going to milk that throughout the entirety of that year. Which I think it is 2025 because in the back of my mind I've got 1995 was when the first Pokemon games.
Yeah.
But wasn't the 25th anniversary last year?
I think
good point actually.
No, maybe like 2 years ago.
2021. 2021 was the 25th anniversary.
So it'd be
26.
That was
2026.
BDSP. That was last year. Well,
2026.
That is a long way away, isn't it?
It's too.
It's only 3 years.
It's 3 years away.
Good point.
I know, but it feels like forever.
Yeah. So actually, that probably does fit in with their cycle of a new generation. It was roughly every 3 years, isn't it?
It's roughly well, this is the thing. Pokemon don't really have patterns. As part of the community, we like to draw them, but they don't really exist.
No, not really. They do.
I think since Gen 5, it's been roughly every 3 years.
There's even patterns within that. Right, it's not just a year. It's not just a new release every 3 years. There's also patterns within that with the whole like, oh, now we're gonna get a remake. Oh, now we're gonna get a new evolution. None of that. I don't think any of those are actually patterns.
I mean,
and people believe them. Like it's like,
but it's 100% Gen 5 remakes next, right? No.
What are you talking about? I'm just kidding.
Is it the Gen 5 remake or the Gen 2 remake?
The rumor. So No, I think we're gonna get Johto. I think Johto's next.
Okay.
They gave us a Kanto remake. Listen, they gave us. We needed like a spreadsheet. I need to like look at this timeline because it does get confusing. So they gave us Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, right? That made sense because at that time, I'm pretty sure the Kanto games were like some of the oldest. That like on the last time that was remade was the GBA, right? So to me, that's just as old as Gen 1 with the Kanto games. So that needed a revamp. But if you look at this in 2024 from 2000, so when did Let's Go come out? 2018? 2018?
I think so.
Yeah, so
I remember correct.
And by the time of 2024, there's going to be a 6-year gap between that Kanto game and what I think is going to be a Johto game. I think now the Johto games, now that we've seen a remake of Sinnoh, the Johto games are now the oldest game at least the oldest region that hasn't got a modern.
Yeah, because it was
right or a 3D.
It was Gen 4 and Heart Gold.
Yeah. So and I think like they already have that BDSP engine. A lot of people don't like it. I think they can make a lot of improvements on it, but they already have the following Pokemon. And if they just, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I don't know what they're either gonna make. I don't know. I go back and forth of like what I want and what is probably gonna happen. They either do like a BDSP style remake for Heart Gold, Soul Silver, but obviously we want to see, Sinnoh, Johto of old, right? That's obviously what we would want.
I don't know. It feels like Gen 5 might be before Gen 2. It all depends on like if they if they really do the Gen 10 on the 30th anniversary, then we have an extra year in there somewhere where they want to do a game, because they've moved to like the supposed one game per year kind of thing. So we're thinking that both of these generations might come in this time frame. Or there's a gap year.
That's actually true.
Or there's a gap year, though. I don't know.
That is true, because we got Kanto and we got, I'm realizing this, we got Kanto and we got Sinnoh within like a 3-year period. So that actually is true.
So we've spoken about this, I think, on last week's episode. But we've got guests. I'm going to enjoy it. Do you think, okay, if we get Sinnoh again, how do you think we'll see it? If we get Johto again, how do you think we'll see it?
How would you want to see it, Soul?
Oh my gosh. I love Johto so much. I mean, you guys obviously do too. So it's like, it's my joy. I just want it anyway, to be honest. But the best way would obviously be a Legends game.
I think it lends itself to that quite well. It's already got the connection with Sinnoh, which means you can link it to Hisui, bring over the Celestica people, have that whole story.
Dude, we see the Sinjo
Yes,
ruins.
please.
And also, like, you're getting my biggest thing is like, people go, why would they remake Johto? It's just Johto. Johto is literally every Johto game has Kanto in it. So you're essentially getting another Kanto remake. Right?
Sorry, to jump in. To answer your question, why would they remake it? Money. Like, ultimately, money.
Yeah, of course.
But it does. No, I know. But, like, it is one of those games that lends itself to, you can remake it, you can remaster it, you can reimagine it. It just allows, there's so much creative license and freedom with Johto that honestly, like, it's not like some of the other games where you could just go, they're gonna remake it, or whatever spin they might put on it. It's like Johto feels very much like they could just go down, porting it over, remastering it. They could do another remake. They could do a almost a reimagining in terms of another Let's Go game, which I would be well down for. But they could also go down.
Yeah, you guys were talking about that.
I love that. I'm probably the only person that bought it, bro. I love the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee games. But they could also do. It is so good. But they could also do a Legends Johto. Like, there is so much they could do with it.
I think Legends Johto makes the most sense because they've already remade Johto once, and it's arguably, people would be like, it's the best game in the franchise. Yeah, people would say that. So like, I don't think they would just do another basic like remake. Obviously, they'd spice it up somehow, but if they did a Legends game, it makes the most sense because it would be very different.
See, I think the issue you've got with the standard remakes that we had in the past, Fire Red, Heart Gold, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, is it used to be a case of like, let's bring this old game into our newest engine and put it out there. But when the newest engine is all based around being open world, you're suddenly completely redesigning the game from the ground up. You can't just have Johto as we know it. So if you're already going through that much effort, why not go a little bit further and give us a new story in that region?
I think the Legends style of gameplay where it's not full open world, but it's like open area, lends itself very well because you can still you still have this sandbox, but it doesn't break the game. Right. It doesn't break the region.
Like one of the great things, and I know I'm probably repeating what I've said in the past, is the great thing about Legends Arceus style over Scarlet and Violet is that the biomes feel very separate. Whereas the problem with Scarlet and Violet is that it's almost one giant biome with a couple of odd little like beaches here and there and a couple of hills here and there. And I'm thinking, like, for the Pokemon company now, what they've really got to, I imagine what they will be worried about and scratching their heads a little bit is, once as a series you go open world, I think it's quite hard to then rein people back into, okay, there are set routes that you have to go down. And the problem then is, eventually when they do remake, Unova and all the other later games, is, okay, how do you take some of the biggest cities and towns and put them into the open world and make it feel as big as it did in your childhood? The Legends games gets around that because you don't need to fill in, cityscapes and towns.
Yeah, it's not a one-to-one. I really also like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but what I don't like about it is that it's still so blocky it is like literally based off of the just like the blocky square routes. Like it's not, I don't want to use the word linear, but like, you know what I'm saying? I think seeing Johto and Kanto in that full 3D scape where there's also like depth, there's vertical depth, right? You can climb up mountains, you can soar over to an island. Like imagine the Whirl Islands, right? Like imagine what is it called? It's not Mount Chimney. What's Cinnabar Island, right?
Yeah. I would say though, I don't think that they would do like if they do a Legends, Johto, whatever, Celebi, it wouldn't contain Kanto. I don't think. I think that Kanto itself, I would love to have even a Legends like Kanto, just to experience Kanto like that in a different way, because that's completely different than what we've ever gotten. I don't think it would be both.
They could do that. They could sell us another Maybe they're not going to do that.
Maybe one day.
But like
an open world
they sell
Kanto.
Us like, I mean, well, that's what the Legends game would be.
No, I think they keep the same thing.
I feel like that's what it would be.
Keep it the way it is.
See, I just don't feel like Kanto has that much history to offer. Like as a region as we know it,
true.
Its history starts within like the last 50 years, really.
Yes, exactly. So there's room to tell a story. Like
there is, but I think Johto and even Unova lend itself better. Like I want to see the origin of the beasts, you know, especially after whatever DLC we get in Scarlet.
You're
and Violet.
about to find out.
GlitchxCity, the birth of that, as I say, it's got the connection with Sinjo Ruins and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got Unova. Yeah. Well, we've been waiting for the original dragon for however many years now. So I think they both work far better in a Legends setting than Kanto would.
I don't know. For me, I want to know the origins of Kanto. I understand that like it is a fairly young civilization and region, but there's still stories there to be told, right? Like the legendary beasts or the legendary birds live there, right? Maybe I guess not the legendary beasts, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I feel like they could put new legends.
Also, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the past. I know we think that way always, but
that's a good
it could be any time, really. It could be in the future, which we actually came up with a theory about how like the next Legends game would be a future one, since we had a past one, and now like the whole if it's in Gen 9, like the whole future past thing.
I love the idea of that. I think coming from a Game Freak and the lack of resources they seem to have compared to, I think their aspirations are bigger than what they can achieve in reality, and I almost feel like going past, and Legends Arceus showed this, where actually I feel it frees up resources in terms of time.
Yes,
and the problem I think with moving forward, and the problem with that is almost if you move forward, everything is bigger and better, mainly because like populations increase and everything, which means you need bigger cities. And I think one of the issues with trying to do a futuristic game is that like the modern day game, Scarlet and Violet, the cities already feel really empty. So if you then suddenly have a really futuristic city, it's going to feel very underwhelming. Whereas Legends Arceus, like, it's actually made sense that there weren't cities everywhere and people everywhere, and it actually, for me, made it like it improved that the Pokemon series for me, because I was like, okay, it actually feels like I'm just in the wild, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do in the next couple of years. This is almost like the best time to speculate, I think, on what is going to come next, because we have some safe bets, like probably DLC for Generation 9, and we're kind of in a point where it's almost like the Switch era has been very experimental for Game Freak in terms of, okay, let's just do what people expect, Gen 9 and a remake, and then let's do some experimental things like Let's Go and Legends. So
even BDSP. I love that my friends have asked me this. They've said, which Pokemon game should I get on the Switch, right? And they're asking me this because they're all different. Where in the past, what Pokemon game should you get? Just get the newest one. They're all the same, right? And now I don't know if this is like, I don't know what the intention is, But the outcome is that you do have all these different experiences for different types of people.
I agree with that.
Part of the intention, I think.
Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure, but as all good things must, this conversation has to come to an end. Where can we find you if we want to come and listen to your lovely voices and hear all the wonderful things you have to say about the future of Pokemon?
Yeah, so I'm DustyGogoat. You can subscribe to me on YouTube. We talk about all things Pokemon, especially the future of Pokemon, leaks, theories, a lot of fun speculation. We also, Soul, I'll let you talk first, and then we'll talk about.
Yeah, so I'm SoulSilverArt. I'm on Twitter mostly, but I'm starting a YouTube up, so you can follow me on both of those. Yeah, and we're part of a podcast that we do together called Hidden Power, and I'll let you take it from there.
Hidden Power is a Pokemon podcast. We started this about 2 months ago. It's going very well. We're thrilled to be here on the Goldenrod Podcast. But also our 1/3 of us is not here. Our other co-host, Lumios Post, Zach, Lumi, whatever you want to call him. He's the best, and unfortunately, he's not here.
That's not our fault. They didn't invite him.
True.
Wow, absolutely brilliant. I just need to point out as well, your links will be in the description down below. So people, if you want to follow them on YouTube, Twitter, to be honest with you, whatever links they send me, they'll be down below, so you can go ahead and follow them as well.
So if you like this conversation about leaks, come over to Hidden Power. Not only do we cover news and leaks and speculation, but we're also going to be rolling out a series of guest interviews, as well as deep dives into Pokemon lore, very specific Pokemon topics, whether it be like types that used to exist in Gen 1 or were beta types that no longer exist, Ultra Beasts, Pokemon game retrospectives. We got a lot planned for the new year. So yeah, come hang out with us.
Well, we're checking out. Thank you very much, boys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Connor, did you see the 1000 Pokemon video that was published today?
I did see it. In fact, I saw it and then sent it to you. So I understand the questions for the audience, but I like breaking that fourth wall every now and then.
It was you. You sent it to me. So for those of you that haven't watched this, basically it's just almost a montage showing the catching, evolution, hatching of all 1008 Pokemon spread across what seems to be the generations they were introduced in, over some nice music and everything. I was a bit amazed how long it went on for, because it's about 8 minutes.
Yeah, well, they weren't all in the order that they got discovered in, because you had starter Pokemon, and then first root Pokemon, and then wild grass Pokemon. Yes. They divided them up. It was really interesting how they did it.
What I meant by that is that they were shown, the game footage that they showed was from the generation they were introduced in. So as Connor's just said, it starts with they hover over the Pokeballs and it shows Squirtle, Charmander, Bulbasaur. Then it jumps into Cyndaquil, Totodile, and Chikorita, and so on and so forth in the games that they were introduced. But you are right, they grouped them together, which was fantastic. So at one point they show you the Rock Smash, and it shows you a Pokemon appearing, and then it's all the other type of Pokemon that you can get via Rock Smash. And when they're surfing on the water, and it shows all the different Pokemon that surf, and you've got this mix of, okay, the surfing on the water, but over on the top left, you'll have Generation 7 footage, and then over on the bottom right, you'll have Generation 2 footage. It was really cool and nostalgic just to see, all the journey almost of all these games kind of pulled together.
Yeah, clearly there was a lot of love that went into the video. Somebody spent a lot of time getting all those footages. What I liked as well is, did you notice that all of the games were played in different languages?
I did notice that on a handful. Maybe I'm looking at the thumbnail now, and actually I can spot it a lot more now that you've brought it up. I think part of it is because it starts off relatively simple of, there's 3 Pokemon on the screen, and then there are parts where there's a lot of game footage going on, and you physically cannot glance at them all because of how just fast paced this video is, just flying through.
Which is kind of crazy, because we both said it felt it was weirdly long for what it was.
Yeah.
And yet everything just seemed to speed by.
Yes, well, it starts off quite so at the start when it started and it shows the starters, I was like, how are they going to get through all these Pokemon in 8 minutes? But then they speed up at parts, but then they slow down at other parts as well. It was a really nice video. It's a bit strange. Like, what's the purpose of this video? Is it just hopefully trying to get more people to buy the latest generation and just remind people?
I don't even think it's that. I think it's just a celebration. We've reached 1,000 Pokemon. In fact, we've reached 1,008. Let's go over them.
Yeah,
it's a nostalgia trip, and that's all it is.
That is all it is. Two things that did stand out to me that I absolutely love. There's some footage where it's the 3DS and it's I think it's Trevenant and there's a Horde encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's laggy as anything. Like, even the footage they are using is laggy as anything, which makes me think, like, do they not think that lagging games is that big of a deal? I don't know. But then what I did like, and I don't know why this was included, at the very end it goes, "Did you catch them all?" And that,
which is not a phrase they've used since Generation 3.
Yeah. It really threw me, and I actually laughed. I actually laughed out loud because I was like, oh, wait, why have they thrown that in there? Because, no, I can't catch them all, because the latest two Pokemon games, like, I physically can't catch all the Pokemon in those games, so why are you asking this question? It's very strange, but I did like it.
Well, they're clearly saying, did you catch them all across all of the games, which they did
definitely
show. The other thing we did get from this is what I assume to be the official National Dex placement of the Paldean Pokemon.
Yes, it looks that way. Which it makes, they have to do it for Pokemon Home anyway. Like, it's the done thing, they do it. But I must admit that there has been confusion with certain Pokemon like Malton and Melmetal is like, okay, where do they even slot in terms of this number structure, and like Hisuian Pokemon and whatnot. So it is quite nice that this is almost confirmation of, okay, this is the order almost of all these different Pokemon, I hope.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we've now got 1,008 official species, and then so many forms amongst those.
It's because, like, it's a bit strange, actually, because, like, the first time we got Pokemon of a different, like, region variety was, variants was, it was Alola,
Gen 7.
It was Gen 7, which feels quite late, actually, because it feels like we've had them around for a long time, but it's obviously Gen 7, Gen 8, and Gen 9 have all had these, you know, these alternative forms. And
technically, Gen 2 introduced regional evolutions, didn't it?
It did, yes.
So evolutions to old Pokemon, which I guess you could kind of argue is the same principle.
Yeah. It feels to me that, like, now I'm starting to realize that maybe this is a gimmick that you can expect every generation moving forward now, is that whenever they release a new Pokemon game, there will be regional variants. There might not be a lot, such as, you know, Generation 9, that wasn't that many, unfortunately. You had Tauros, you had Wooper, you had a Pokemon that was similar in Wiglet, but it's not a regional variant, so it's a bit of a blurred line. It's almost like a new take on a Pokemon, which is what regional variants are, I guess. So it's going to be
but they take up their own Pokedex entry, which is the difference.
Yes. But it's the fact that, like, they're spending time doing these alternative versions, which they don't have to do because it's an extra, you know, time constraint on them to take a Pokemon that doesn't really need fleshing out or creating, because the argument is, well, why don't they just create a new Pokemon rather than just adapting an old one? But at the same time, I do like the fact that Pokemon doesn't just drop Pokemon and then go, okay, we're never revisiting that mon again. They like to go back and give love to fan favorites, and we've seen that in Generation 9, where we've had Pokemon from Generation 2 finally get a little bit more love.
Yeah,
which I really like. So yeah, I go on.
Not the most in-depth video, not a lot of analysis to have, but worth a watch, I guess, if you feel like having a little bit of nostalgia.
I'd recommend watching it just for that little bit of nostalgia hit. And I'm hoping they do more stuff like that, to be honest with you, to celebrate the games. So, because of how long we've been going on, we're going to jump over and skip the Pokemon Master Journeys. And to be honest with you, probably have to skip the guessing game because the Pokemon I've chosen are related to the videos.
Which is a shame because good episodes this week.
Great episodes that I'm looking forward to discussing next week. So we'll just move straight on to comments and questions. So we've got another one from Gym Leader JC again this week, courtesy of YouTube. If you guys were to make a team of 6 consisting of only one starter and can only pick one Pokemon from each region, who would be on your team?
Okay.
Conor,
so
who would be on your team?
I think I nailed this.
Okay.
Spot the pattern.
Okay.
So from Kanto, I chose Arcanine. From Johto, I chose Umbreon. Then I skipped all the way through to oh my god, X and Y. Kalos. I skipped all the way through to Kalos for Furfrou. Then Alola, I went Lycanroc. For Galar, I went Boltund. And then Paldea, I chose Houndstone.
Right, okay. I'm not getting the theme there. What's the thing? So you like your dog Pokemon.
I like my dog Pokemon. That's it. Well done.
I like that very, very, very much. And you just go out and take... Well, actually, I was about to say you could just go walking the dogs on the lead, but actually, like, you don't put Pokemon dogs on the lead, do you? You just kind of...
No, you just press right bumper and they just send them out for a walk.
They just run off and attack everyone else's dogs. As you're walking down the street, you got no control.
Are you trying to tell me that Pokemon is just dog fighting?
Apparently so. It's just animal cruelty. In terms of my team, then, so I went with a team that I feel like I could explore the world, but also, you know, if I have to get into a battle, I've got a nice competitive team. Now, I feel like I have cheated a little bit here because I have got 2 legendaries on mine. So I've got Mewtwo just because it's a psychic powerhouse. Meganium because of course, like it's my mascot. I love Meganium. Latias is the other one. Togekiss. So those 2 allow me to just, you know, explore the skies and fly wherever I want to, which is quite nice. Funnily enough, one I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. One of my favorite Pokemon is actually Gogoat. Funnily enough, I love its simplicity, its design. The first time I played X and Y, I had a Gogoat and Hornleech carried me through that game. It's a busted move. Love Gogoat. And then another favorite that I have absolutely fallen in love with in this generation, Tinkaton. I love its typing. I love its sprite. The fact that it literally, like, basically hunts Corviknight
out the sky.
It's just fun to, like, when I discovering that was just fantastic. And I've used it in 2 playthroughs now of Scarlet and Violet, and it's just an absolute powerhouse of a mon that can hit hard but also take a lot of damage and has a lot of diversity. I absolutely love it. If you've got a comment, thank you very much. If you've got a comment or question, you can reach us by leaving a comment on our podcast on YouTube, by emailing goldenrodpod@gmail.com, or by leaving it on our Discord channel. It's that time again. What have you got coming up, Conor?
I am currently working on a video. Well, actually, I'm editing down a stream that I did called "I Was Wrong," where I go back and look at. At the time during the stream, I went back and looked at all the speculation videos that I did leading up to Scarlet and Violet. But the cut down video will just be the main one. The what the hell happened to make my video not too soon happen? Why was I wrong? How did that happen? Just a little bit of in-depth.
Okay.
Breakdown of that.
I'm looking forward to that. I've actually been chipping away at the live stream because it's like what 3 hours long.
Yeah, no, it was.
So I'm like every now and again I'm just like right, I'll chip away at it and whatnot.
I did initially try and like cut all of the videos down to be like, oh yeah, we'll just release this as one, and I took a 3-hour video and made it like an hour long.
Yeah,
and I realized nobody's gonna watch that. Let's just do the bit that people actually want. Do the final 20 minutes. It's
definitely a good live stream though, to watch you back and like, you know, acknowledge when you're wrong, but also acknowledge where like you were wrong for the right reasons. If that makes sense, where like all the evidence was pointing to the conclusion you came to, And it's just unfortunate that Game Freak maybe didn't put enough effort or as much thought in.
I still stand by the point with that Grafai video that they told us we were going to have Pokemon interacting in the wild, and they didn't give it.
And they didn't deliver, unfortunately.
But what you got going on?
So I know this is probably a running joke by now. My first challenge video, Scarlet and Violet, done and dusted on my YouTube channel. It's not live yet though, because I need content for when my series with British finishes, which probably finishes in about 2 weeks. So you haven't got that long to wait. It's definitely worth a watch. It is, in my opinion, my best challenge video yet in terms of humor, presentation, and challenge, to be quite honest with you. So I'm well looking forward to seeing what people think of it.
Does that mean you're already working on the next challenge video?
I am, yes.
Fantastic.
That's all I've got to say. But I have kind of realized that Scarlet and Violet is the most difficult Pokemon game yet. And I need to pivot with my challenge videos to do something that isn't so time consuming, to be quite honest with you, because it is a difficult game to play.
Is it just out of interest? Is the Team Star bases the hardest part? Because they straight up cheat.
So yes. So the earlier Team Star bases, the ones that are lower levels, are quite easy because you can over level and you can you've only got to beat 2 to 3 Pokemon typically. The final two Team Star bases, so Aries and I think Ortegas off the top of my head, so the fairy and fighting ones, just they do flat out cheat with moves like Sucker Punch, and the AI kind of knowing what you are doing before, like after you've clicked it, and the AI changing at times based on like what you like. They know what input you've done, and it's pretty obvious that they know what input you've done because of what they then do as a result, to the point where it's like, okay, there is no way you should have been able to predict I was going to do that. And I think one thing that this has made me realize is that they really have tweaked the AI. You know, in past Pokemon games where, okay, one hit and I'm out, and then they use Leer, or they do something that's, okay, you should have gone in for the kill there. There's none of that in Scarlet and Violet. If they will knock you out, even as early as the first and second gym, so the bug and grass gym, they will go for the kill shot if they can, which has made it really difficult where there are certain battles where you invest so long, you get to the final Pokemon, and you come so close on a good run, and you have to restart, and you can't get that good run again. It's such a good. It was so much fun to play Scarlet and Violet this way, but I can't see myself doing it very often because of how much time you have to put in.
Makes sense. Also, next week is our review time. 1 year on from Legends Arceus, so I hope you played it.
So, I have been chipping away at it. I'm probably just going to watch a Let's Play for the story, I think. Actually, I'll probably just go back and watch my old live streams. And just to remind myself of the story, because I've played so much of it and so much of it recently, the main parts of the game that you can, like the replayability, I've got that nailed. I know what I want to say and I know what I want to discuss. The story, I remember segments of it, but I need to go back and refresh. But I'm probably more excited to review that than Scarlet and Violet. I know that sounds strange, but I'm looking forward to finally being able to talk about this game in depth, which I
in context of the new games having come out as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. And that's the show for this week. If you've gotten this far, you're just a top dollar, aren't you? Connor, where can we find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Captain Fidget or on Twitter at CapFidget.
And I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Hoenn Gaming on YouTube and Professor Hoenn on Twitter and Twitch. As for the Goldenrod Podcast, you can find us on the usual platforms. Search for Goldenrod Podcast on YouTube or on your usual podcast app. Leave a like on YouTube or a 5-star review if you're listening as a podcast. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon podcast content.
See ya!